How you are actually worthless. That's the topic of this episode. This is Jurgen Rasmussen. Welcome to the Provocative Hypnosis channel. So, just a few days ago, I had a client in my office who said, I'm worthless. Now, he didn't say it about me, he said it about himself. I'm worthless, with the implication that this idea was essentially who he was. And of course, that's why it looks like such a big deal. And I cracked up laughing. It's so funny when you think about it because the I is actually a ad hoc entity. The I, for all practical purposes, is quite useless. As the Buddha said so many years ago, in the seeing, there's just the seeing. In the hearing, there's just the hearing. In the feeling, there's just the feeling. In the cognizing, there's just the cognizing. Meaning, the activity of seeing just occurs. The activity of hearing just occurs. The activity of feeling and thinking just occurs. And what also just occurs is this I thought that emerges onto the scene after the fact and claims credit and says, I saw that, I heard that, I made that decision, I chose. And this is a psychological magic trick that makes it seem as if what came after the I thought somehow was there before the seeing, hearing, feeling, and thinking, and somehow initiated the whole thing. But in reality, the I can't see, the I can't hear, the I thought can't think, nor can it feel. It can't even speak, it can't sing, it can't dance. For all practical purposes, it's useless. So there's enormous wisdom in that utterance, in that thought, I am useless. The I, for practical purposes, is pretty useless. And if you can see that, um, there's something really valuable about really seeing that. Of course, there's no such thing as a self, right? But there's self-referential thinking going on. Now, something else too, the I'm useful thought is also quite useless or worthless as an identity. So what happens is that the thought process just kicks off the I'm worthless, I'm worthless thought, right? And then there's this process of identification which makes it seem as if this thought is a self and basically identical to who or what you fundamentally are. And now it looks like a big issue. Now it looks like something to be fixed, something to explore, and something to be solved. You know, that voice of the mind that might come up and go, ha, what this Rasmussen guy says is bullshit, or that kind of makes sense. It's so easy for that thought to seem like what you fundamentally are, that you essentially are that and nothing else, right? So to recap, the I is pretty much useless because it can't sing, dance, think, feel, hear. There's a lot of wisdom in that statement. And it's also quite worthless as an identity because it's a case of mistaken identity. What you fundamentally are is not a thought or an idea. And it's that mistaken belief that makes something look like a problem when in reality it is not. And if you see that, you can have a chuckle and you can have a sense of humor about it. By the way, if this topic intrigues you, I'm doing a How to See Through the Self-Illusion Masterclass starting in September and ending in late November this year of 2025. I invite you to go to ayetherandalchemy.net. I'll post a link before under here for some information about the course. Also, if you have self-esteem issues or issues around the topic of self or identity, and you would like some guidance in seeing the illusory nature of that, send me an email at provocativehypnosis.com. We'll set up a conversation and see if it makes sense to work together as a team. All right, thanks for listening.